There was a great beta this weekend that wasn't Diablo. Capcom drops Exoprimal beta. I think it's over now. It will be day one Game Pass. It was great. I absolutely fucking loved this video game. I'm not a big multiplayer shooter guy. I really do love Call of Duty. I love the new Fortnite, but I'm not one of these like, all I want to do is fucking shoot shit and I care about my kill to death and all that. But this game where you play kind of mech, I don't fucking know, whatever, these kind of mech suit people, and they all have different abilities, very class-based, and then they are sending dinosaurs from the past for you to fight. It is absolutely batshit first off. The hole opens in the sky, and just velociraptors come pouring out. It just looks like somebody's projectile vomiting velociraptors. It's awesome.
I'm changing I'm definitely changing my shit.
Oh, dude, that is... I gotta...
You have to kill 1,000 of these fuckers.
Pop us off moves.
Go.
Nice.
You see, how can an Xbox One play this? Look at all those effects.
It is really fun. It's varied. All the characters feel different and good. I recommend, if you have Game Pass or they have another beta coming up, keeping a real close eye on this one. I don't know if it's going to do well. I just don't know these games anymore. But what I'll tell you is Exoprimal came out really at a bad time for betas because everybody was playing the goddamn cockadoodie Diablo. One more thing about Diablo as it relates to this game that comes out in 2 days. This is crazy. Deceive Inc., which I enjoyed. I played about 4 hours total of it when it was in beta a couple weeks ago. This is launching in 2 days. It's launching for like, I think it's $30, and it's a service-based game. It's a multiplayer game. I don't know what in the fuck these people are thinking. It's absolutely ridiculous. When I thought it was a free game, okay, it's $20 is philosophy. When I thought it was a free game, I was like, I like it a lot. If you just stop and like, you know, stare at a plant for a while, usually, and again, you can stare at the plant, but look around, but I believe it still looks like you're just staring at the plant. Okay, I see you, CR. I'm going up to Spaz. Where's that guy's AI right there?
Jeffy, come up these stairs. Jeffy's scaring all the people.
I didn't mean that guy was AI. I meant that guy was a human, but he wasn't. He was AI. There's no vault terminal. Get whatever we can get. But I can't see this working. It's asking a lot on the part of the player that's used to something a lot simpler, which doesn't mean it's not good. It was good. It was compelling. But are you out of your goddamn mind? You want people to pay for this? That's not going to happen. I just don't understand unless they drop it on Game Pass or PS Plus or whatever, which is currently not announced. But anyway, here's the point. I'm not saying do this with Diablo because Diablo's already established what it is. I get people would be up in arms about it. But, by the way, Mr. K wants to know, Jaffe, how did it feel winning an Oscar for The Whale? It felt pretty good, but tell your mother that I need it back. I'm tired of her using it as a fucking vibrator. Plus, it smells like cheese and fecal paste, so please have her wash it off before she brings it back to me. I would appreciate it. But the idea that Diablo 4 shut down at noon today, and I got in my last couple licks trying to get up to 25 level. I got to 22, and that's it. And now it's coming back next week for open beta. Again, Diablo doesn't need this, right? But something like Exoprimal might, something like Deceive Inc. might, and I don't know if the business model would work. But remember when House of Cards came out for Netflix, and it was really the first time any service had ever dropped everything so you could binge it immediately. And that was the standard way to do it for a couple years until these services started feeling, wait a minute, people are watching what they want and then unsubscribing. So that's why now Mandalorian's once a week and Last of Us is once a week and Apple TV drops 2 a week, but still it stretches it out for at least 3 months of your subscription if you like the show. I wonder about that model for a game like Deceived or like Exoprimal. If Exoprimal came out and Exoprimal is like, look, we run every weekend and we run Wednesday nights, and that's it. And absence makes the heart grow fonder. I know you don't have as much time to spend money, but a lot of these games that are great can't survive 24/7 up against the behemoths of the world. It can't survive against the Fortnites yet, maybe eventually. But to have a game that every weekend is packed and people are spending money and then they're anticipating next week, I'm throwing it out there because it seems a real shame that games like this Exoprimal and games like this, Deceive, which are genuinely good games, are going to probably just get forgotten about very, very quickly. And I just wonder, given how I'm feeling about Diablo, which is like, hey, I really can't wait to play it again next week. I like that it's kind of gone now. I'll play other things. I'll do other things. But hey, this weekend, Diablo's back, right? I think that's kind of cool. Am I the only one that thinks this is a good idea? Like, if the business model could work, if the economics could work, do you think this is a good idea or a stupid idea? And let me tell you something else. Whether it's this or whether it's what we talked about last week, where a lot of these games are getting made off the bat in like, you know, kind of like a Roblox environment or a Fortnite environment, who's just now this week giving people Unreal 5 to make creative mode in Fortnite, which is going to be insane. The tools are great. You can do all kinds of shit. Maybe the games have to launch like that, and if they catch on, then they spend the money. But I don't see how companies can keep spending this kind of money to make these sorts of games when you have no idea what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. There's one guy on NeoGAF that whenever I say this and he happens to catch a show, he's always goes to NeoGAF. I think his name is Min in Boxes, and he has a little goldfish for a icon. And he says, he's always like, all these people that say there's no way to know if your service-based game is going to work, they just don't understand. It's totally predictable. And I'm just like, dude, maybe you're a genius and everyone else at these video game companies are stupid. But Rumbleverse could have used you. Knockout City could have used you. These games coming up, all these games that enough people like that they shouldn't have died exactly the way they did. You need to offer your services because these are smart people over there getting paid really well. And they don't think there's a winning formula that every time they step up to the plate, it works. Retention is key, says Jeeves. Of course. Absolutely. And onboarding is key. Like, I think a lot of people are going to come into Deceived. I mean, Deceive might be different because you have to pay $20 for it. And in paying for it, you're willing to stick it out a little bit. But I think a lot of people are going to come in to Deceived Inc. and go, oh, I don't know what this is. No, I'm good. And be done with it. Gamers don't like artificial restrictions on games, says Venom Quest. Nobody likes restrictions on anything, but you create friction. You create a desire to spend money. That's how it works. You know, otherwise, everything would be free. Brett Moore says, isn't that what a vertical slice is for? To see if it works before putting in all that time and money. If you're talking about a gameplay vertical slice, there are plenty of studios that will do pure gameplay vertical slices. The problem is, and this is what I was saying about Sony needing kind of like a super early access, or like they did with the lab, not just with levels though, but with modes for service-based vertical slices. So the way it worked in Uncharted 3 is they had this thing called the lab, and they let lots of players in to play these very basic, non-textured, very rough levels early. And then the ones that people seemed to gravitate towards, they kept working on. And the ones that didn't connect, they just killed. I really think that's the direction these games need to go in to determine well before you spend the ducats if this is a viable product. I mean, look at all the money that they spent on Destruction All-Stars. It was an absolutely beautifully executed game, wonderful detail. But my God, I played it for an hour and I never went back. Not sticky. They could have known that well before they spent the kind of cash they spent on that game. Because you cannot tell until you put it out there for lots of people. I mean, you have no idea. We focus tested, play tested Drawn to Death, and we got 7.5s to 9 every single time we play tested that game. Averaged out at about an 8. That game's at a 56 on Metacritic. We asked people what one of the best parts about the game was, or what do you think about the game's humor? That always rated high. Okay, so we're like, cool, we're set. This is awesome. And it comes out, and one of the things people complained about was the tone, the quote, shitty sense of humor, what have you. So what I'm saying is you can't do a vertical slice for a service-based game and test it with some people in a focus test setting. You have to put it out into the world and see how sticky it is and really just see if it connects and people come back. Because sitting in a playtest, look, if I sat in a playtest and played Exoprimal, I would say, oh man, it's an 8. It's an 8.5. I really loved it. It was awesome. But if Exoprimal isn't sticky enough, which you can't tell from a playtest, if Exoprimal doesn't release frequent updates of content, which you can't tell in a playtest, if the pricing model for Exoprimal is shit for things I want that I have to buy or grind for, that's going to make all the difference on whether or not I come back or not. And you can't tell that in a traditional focus test.